I got to sit in a private session with Toys for Bob for Crash Bandicoot 4 with a bunch of other people and reporters. What do we learn from it? Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new Crash Bandicoot 4 video. So last week you saw footage come out for this channel, and well, many other news outlets as well, for Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. We saw levels like Dino Dash, Snow Way Out, and Snow Way Out Cortex's Timeline. There was more information that was told during this private session that we didn't see in the demos. I wrote down a list here of all the things that were talked about in the private session. So without further ado, let's dive into it. First up, the game has been built from the ground up in the Unreal Engine, and there is absolutely no code carryover from Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. That means that all the jumps, slides, attacks, hitboxes, everything has no relation to the Insane Trilogy at all, which means that though this is a Crash Bandicoot game, it has its own unique feel in comparison to the Insane Trilogy or many other Crash games. So when you pick this game up for the first time, if you have a lot of muscle memory from the Insane Trilogy, it's gonna be a bit different. The game was created with the original fans of the original trilogy in mind, but also more accessible to new fans. The game's level progression will work just like Crash Bandicoot 1, finishing a level and then moving on to a more difficult one. They wanted to have a proper difficulty ramping by introducing new mechanics gradually and making sure that the player knows how to use each new mechanic before being thrown into something more challenging. However, though they are making it more accessible to new fans, according to them, there is more devious ways that they're making the game much more difficult in certain areas that apparently will challenge even the most original of fans. Now, even though the game will be challenging, you will be able to swap between retro and modern mode. For those who don't know, retro mode runs just like the classic Crash Bandicoot, where you hit a life box and gain a life, and if you collect 100 Wumpa Fruit, you also gain a life. However, if you run out of lives, you get a game over and a hard reset of the level. If you choose modern mode, however, there are no lives and you just constantly reset back to the previous checkpoint. However, if you find that you're struggling with certain levels, you can actually change between modern and retro mode and it won't affect your collection or progression rating for the game. So if you want to be a part of the Weenie Hut Junior Club, you can just switch it over to Weenie mode. I'm totally joking. Modern mode is fun and you can play however you like with no judgment from anybody. Also, like I said, in retro mode, there are life boxes. In modern mode, they give golden Wumpa boxes. So whichever mode you play, they will swap. But nonetheless, both boxes give 25 Wumpa Fruit. The reason why this is important is because there is now a Wumpa counter to track how many Wumpa Fruit you have collected in the level. If you get all Wumpa Fruit in the level, you get awarded an additional crystal. Speaking of crystals, crystals have made their way back into the game for achieving certain objectives. At the end of the level, you get awarded a number of crystals for the following things, like hitting all the boxes, collecting all the Wumpa Fruit, and only dying 3 times or less. I also want to mention that those deaths do not count in the bonus mode, so you can die as many times as you like there. There are also hidden crystals throughout the level that you can find through exploration. They're sometimes devious to find, so you gotta pay close attention. Although we didn't see it in the demo, in the final game, Coco will be playable for the entire game. Every Crash level is a Coco level, and every Coco level is a Crash level. They are completely and utterly interchangeable at whatever point, and there are no specific Crash and Coco levels like in Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Coco will also be much more involved in the story than she has been in previous titles. This was planned right from the start to make sure that Coco had more inclusion in the game and its story. Speaking of companions, we have our little planks of quantum wood, the quantum masks. We already have seen Ika, who has the power to swap the direction of gravity for whomever wears him. Kapunawa can slow time down to a crawl for Crash and allow him to interact with nitro crates without blowing up instantly. And now, our new scaredy blue friend, Lanny Lolly, who can phase objects between dimensions. These masks, however, do not act like Akuaku. Akuaku follows you and protects you from damage. These masks only enhance Crash's power and do not protect him. So if you get hit and you don't have Akuaku, you still die. Now in No Way Out, we saw that the ship was booby-trapped and ready to explode, but when we jumped to Cortex's timeline, we saw that it was him that caused the explosion, albeit a bit early due to sneezing, as well as spewing his Cortex mucus all over the screen. Gross. But this was referred to as the Cortex Timeline. Now, different timelines allow you to play as different characters that are not Crash and Coco that you meet along the way through the story, both good and bad. This was confirmed before that we will be able to play as different characters. We just don't know which ones specifically or how many, but what we will play is segments that are moments that intervene with Crash and Coco's adventure to see how the events leading up to that intervening event happened. Like we can see here, Cortex is trying to blow Crash Bandicoot to literal bits, causing the boat to collapse and forcing Crash or Coco to seek the help of Kapunawa. However, these segments aren't just events that affect Crash or Coco in a negative way, but can also have a positive impact, like in Dino Dash. When Crash gets through the first running segment, a giant pile of rocks falls down to block the dinosaur's path. We don't know why or how it happened. Crash doesn't even know seemingly, but when the full game releases, we will see who it was that caused these rocks to fall and block the dinosaur's path in a separate timeline level similar to Cortex's, and whether or not they were trying to help or maybe even crush the Bandicoot. Afterwards, when you finish that timeline, you replay the same level as before up to the point of the intervention, but it is different and much more difficult. Missing platforms, different placement of crates, and a lot more potential for death. The game doesn't just have dimension hopping though, but timeline hopping as well. When you click pause on the menu in No Way Out, we can see that this is the 11th dimension in 1954. Now here's the thing, my inner lore nerd is screaming, and if you played Crash to Insanity, you would know why, but that's for a different video. But it seems that we will be hopping from dimension to dimension and exploring different timelines, which opens the possibilities of level design and choices to being basically unlimited, which I'm excited and hyped for. Now, we are coming to the final nitty-gritty details of what we learned in that session, so thank you for making it this far. Recently, GameStop had sent out an email saying that there would be over 100 levels for us to play in the game. When we asked about it, we were told that there were no specifics at this time in terms of final number of levels. But with this being a new Crash game, different timelines, and the mysterious multiplayer mode that's in the wind, it could easily tally up to being over 100 levels. But we'll have to see. We also found out that the game's music is being composed by Walter Mayer, who composed music for Call of Duty Mobile, Warhammer, and the Killzone series, along with other TV and film. Now, a fun little fact about Walter is that he is seemingly so passionate about this project for the prehistoric levels, he went out and actually found a bone flute to use in the levels, which can be heard in Dino Dash. Now, an important detail that was iterated 3 times in the entire session, it was repeated over and over again, so Toys for Bob wants to make sure that you know that there will be no microtransactions for Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time now, after launch, or ever. They made sure this was hammered in over and over again. Now, does that mean that we will never have any future DLC for Crash Bandicoot 4? I don't think so, because I don't see DLC as really a microtransaction, because it opens up an entirely new large chunk of content with a larger transaction. So I don't see it as a microtransaction. But in terms of the concept of pay $4 to unlock this new Crash skin, this is not happening at all. And last, but certainly not least, we learned the name of the weapon that Dr. Engine uses in the trailer. It's called the Weapon of Mass Percussion. Yes, you heard me right. The Weapon of Mass Percussion. The WOMP. Yes, I love every aspect of that name, and it fits Engine perfectly. Now, that's all that I got from this private session from Toys for Bob personally. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited? Comment below and let me know.
A huge thank you to all those who support the channel through Patreon and being a sponsor on the channel. If you'd like to help it out, check out the links in the description below, where you can buy some CGE merch or become a Patreon. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming and nostalgic content. Thank you so much everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.